Call the meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 3.0, a roll call. Let the record reflect that all members are present. 4.0, student rep. Doesn't look like we have one tonight. All right, 5.0, agenda additions, deletions.
Don't have any tonight, Mr. Chair.
Nothing. All right, moving on to 6.0, visitor input. Looks like we have one signed up. If you want to step up to the podium and say your name.
My name is Tom Hofdahl, and I spoke here 2 weeks ago. We have 2 more board meetings before the end of the football season. Again, I'm asking you to put an item on the agenda, the regular board meeting, that addresses the sodding of the track so that there can be some board discussion, and so that we could possibly entertain a motion to remove that sod from the track. So I'm just simply requesting that the board please put that item on an agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 7.0, approve the agenda.
I'll move.
Motion by Peterson,
Second.
second by Andrews. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 8.0, approve the treasurer's report for the second check writing in September.
Okay, I met with Janelle this morning, and she's been out on sick leave for she had an operation on her knee, so I did not have the opportunity to review the invoices, so I will make that report with her on the first meeting in October.
Okay. That's the one that we had copies of.
Yeah.
Here, okay. You'll go over that and then you'll go over that in like October, you said?
First
Okay.
thing in October, so.
Okay.
Does that mean we're gonna table this, or?
Yeah, would you like to, you want to make a motion to table it then?
I have a couple bills that need to be paid, the Apple one in particular, that's in there. Statement 47012 toward the top of the first page is due and needs to be paid, so.
I mean, they all look standard. It's only a couple checks, considering. I mean, on that note, I'll make a motion to approve the checks as presented.
Motion by Peterson to approve the checks.
The checks do not have to go for 30 days, according to state statute.
I have one, the 47012 that needs to go out like today. So other than that, I wouldn't disagree with you.
What check is that, Jack?
That's the one, that's our Apple lease payment for the iPads.
And those were right at the beginning of the school year, we received those, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's the end of September, so pretty much probably needs to be paid.
We approved that purchase, is basically. I mean,
Right.
all these, I mean, these are all budgeted items and approved. I mean, there's gas in here.
Well, we got a motion to accept the treasurer's report as presented. Do we have a second? No, for discussion.
I will second the
Okay.
motion to approve.
Okay, second Bill Oettinger. Any discussion?
Director Gentilini, what is your concern with? Do you have any specific concern?
I review the invoices, all except the ones for the legal invoices, which I am denied to review those. So it's checks and balances, so as treasurer, I review the invoices and I also look at the checks that are written out. and then I sign off on the invoices. So when I spoke with Janelle this morning, she's just recovering from an operation.
Just,
So
Tom, if I may interrupt you, I mean, we shouldn't talk about personnel medical.
well, he asked the question, I'm answering.
I'm just telling you, I mean, you don't have to state the reason. There's some
If you have a question, you give it to me after.
There's some discretion involved with personnel is all I'm saying. Thank you.
So typically you review this with
That's right, I
Janelle?
review the invoices, yes.
Okay,
And she, yeah, okay.
okay.
I review the invoices, then I sign off on the invoices, I check the invoices against the checks that go out as the treasurer. So that is the checks and balances being the treasurer, okay? And so I spoke with the Business Administration Department this morning, okay? And I'm going to do it on the first meeting in October, which is giving them time to get everything together. So I can review and sign off on them. And that's why I brought this up tonight.
Okay.
Okay?
I'm-
Any other clarification?
Due diligence.
Yeah, I understand that. So I'm wondering if we could potentially, and I understand that there's a motion on the table and we'll be voting on that. I'm wondering if we could pull out Apple if there's a way to be able to pull out that and have that be reviewed separately then. And so we can make the payment on that because that was a very clearly approved item that we had discussed in board meetings and it has been a while since we've received those. We have yet to pay that bill and it's a significant amount.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Superintendent, were you notified of that this was going to be attempted to be tabled tonight?
I didn't know it was gonna be tabled. I knew that the finance clerk has had a hard time getting it done because she's not able to.
Yeah.
I knew that it wasn't done when he came. I mean,
But he never, I mean, Director Generalini never contacted you to try to postpone this?
I wasn't entirely sure it was gonna be done for tonight's meeting, to be honest with you, so it was actually a surprise to me when it's here.
Okay.
So what checks are critical to be paid by the end of the month?
The Apple one, I need to have done. That one is due.
Okay, so Kelly made a motion to pull that one for payment.
We have to, I did make
Oh,
a
no,
motion,
they'd-
we have to vote on this one
They'd have to
first.
amend, yeah, either that or amend it, but I'd be willing.
I would just like to make a vote on it and go forward. I mean, there's nothing, I mean, it's literally not even 2 pages of checks. I don't know why, I mean, I get it, but
I understand as well. I mean, my only concern is the ones that we need to pay, because I hate to be a school district that doesn't pay their bills on time.
Yeah.
So I understand the need for doing
we
that.
got utilities in here, we got telecoms, we got our book orders, we got vendors, shoebox. I mean, to Brandy's point, I mean, they're standard and we just gotta pay our bills. And, I mean, we can always do our due diligence and review them, like, and bring any concerns of the board, but we
Yeah, but that puts the, the carriage before the horse as far as Tom's job.
You have 30 days from the date of the invoice to pay that check. That's according to state statute. So we have 30 days to pay that invoice.
But we don't know when the invoices were dated though
Well, I
either.
haven't seen invoices.
Yeah.
There may be a few in there, and I don't know. Apple's the only one I know that is due like last week. There may be a few others because, like I said, our accounts payable has not been here for a while, so we might be behind for. But that's the only one that I know of for sure that we do need to pay.
The motion on the table is that it's to accept the treasurer's report as presented, so I guess we can take a vote on it and see how she goes. All in favor of the treasurer's report as presented?
I
All opposed?
No.
No.
Okay. Motion fails. So, just like to table it then? Is it-
I would like to make a motion to pull the pull the check number 366160 for Apple Inc. in the amount of $106,931.40 for review of the invoice and for payment.
Is there any other ones that were critical to be paid at the end of the month? Or
That's the only one that I'm aware of, I guess. There could be more, but I'm only aware of that one.
I'll second.
Okay, just for clarification, the motion was to just pull the one check and accept that, and then table the rest?
Yep.
Okay, that's perfect. Okay, so motion by Saylor, second by Andrews. Any other discussion on that?
I'd just like to say that this motion contradicts the first motion of the reason why it didn't pass is because we didn't do our due diligence to review that bill, but then we're going to cherry pick one bill that hasn't been reviewed and pass that.
The motion includes asking for the invoice to be reviewed.
Okay.
Well, we could ask for all of them to be reviewed, I guess, on that. I mean, it's only a handful, but that's your material.
All right. Further discussion? All right. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
No.
Motion passes. Moving on. Approve the consent agenda, 9.0. A is approve the minutes of the regular meeting of Monday, September 11th, 2017. B is approve 2017-2018 extracurricular assignments. And C is to accept the donation from the Sabi Range Auxiliary number 1172 of $300 for art supplies. Call for to accept the consent agenda as presented.
I'll make the motion to accept the consent agenda.
Motion by Thaler,
I'll second.
second by Lotiger. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you for the donation, by the way. Sorry.
Yeah. All right, 10.0, these items removed, there's none removed. 11.0, personnel. 11.1, approve early childhood teacher and coordination appointment of Ellen Williams.
I'll move.
Motion by Peterson,
I'll second.
second by Saylor. Any discussion?
Were you gonna say anything about that? You looked like you were about to say something before Mike.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, Ellen, this will be her 4th year in this position. I think she's done a good job, but as those of you who followed know, she does need a community expert license, which is why we have to renew every year. She has applied for a regular license now, and that'll be up for review this fall, but for the time being, she's being hired as community expert.
Any other applicants for this position?
Todd, was there any other applicant?
Was there any other applicants for the position?
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 11.2, accept the letter of resignation from Randy Knowles, business manager. Guess what's there to say? So,
I'm meeting with representatives from ARC tomorrow to discuss possible scenarios for replacement. We're looking at a number of things, including sharing with another district in the area, or possibly some type of combination thereof. But I'll know more tomorrow, and at the end of the meeting I plan on calling a study session for next Monday at 5 o'clock to discuss that very topic more after I have more information. This is an important position to fill.
I'll make a motion to approve, or to accept the resignation for Randy Knowles.
All set. No, support by Janalini. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 12.0 new business. 12.1 certify proposed 17 payable 18 levy.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'd like to thank your superintendent for inviting me tonight to talk about your proposed levy certification. My name is Kathy Erickson. I'm from the Arrowhead Regional Computing Consortium in Duluth, ARC. You are one of my 31 member districts that I work for, and due to the changeover in your business office, and because this is one of my favorite things to talk about, which is the levy certification, I wanted to be here tonight to explain to you a little bit about what's going on with the process that we have and what you're doing tonight, and then the process that we move forward. So by September 30th, all districts must certify a proposed levy, and this will be what shows on your proposed property tax statements that you'll all receive in your district. We recommend that you approve the maximum at this time at the proposed, and then that gives you time for the Department of Education to continue to do changes and updates all the way through the 30th, which we still have this whole week, and changes are still happening at the department, as well as potential changes that could be happening at the district level. And then in December, you'll certify your final levy, and that's what will be then the final amount that will get spread on taxpayers. And so if what you see today when you're the recommendation of proposing approving the maximum, then you can adjust that at that time in December. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. Your proposed levy change as of last Friday is an increase of 19.93%. It is going up approximately $137,000, and there are two main reasons for this levy change. The first one, and the largest factor, is that there is your taconite contribution. There's a contribution on the levy certification each year that reduces the taxes, the net taxes before the spread. And for this year, compared to last year's payable levy, that is down $81,000, a little over $81,000 compared to last year. This is out of the district's control. This is a market based calculation. It is a very complex calculation. I know we've had folks on your board who have been a part of the taconite process and procedure, but as you can see, we're down to $472,000 versus the $555,000 last year. Because of the market and how cyclical we see the taconite industry, this is actually from last year and a little bit of the prior year when we know that mines were down, and your calculation is a 3-year running average. So we're going to be seeing these little ebbs and flows of the taconite dollars. So that is the largest of the $137,000. The second piece are the adjustments that happen on your levy. If you look here on the first column where it says initial levy limitation and initial levy limitation, this is your current proposed levy that you're going to be approving and the one from last year. Your initial levies are almost identical to last year. So where your other changes is actually in the adjustments. And adjustments happen for multiple reasons. Mostly what we're putting here out on the initial are estimates for fiscal year 19. So we don't know pupil counts, we don't know legislative changes, we don't know some expenditures that may come up in the past. One of the larger changes that we often see are health and safety projects. We don't often know ahead of time that we're going to have projects or other needs for the district, and then you do them, and then we get the adjustments in a future levy. So for the levy we're doing today that we're asking to have approved tonight are all estimates for fiscal year 19, which is over a year away. So as we get better information, then we see those adjustments. So what is actually happening is you had more adjustments, more negative adjustments on your prior year levy than adjustments on this year's levy, which is actually causing the net levy to go up. So it isn't anything from this year. It was actually 2 prior fiscal years ago, and then adjustments from 2 prior fiscal years from a year ago, that are impacting the net change. So it's very complex. It's a multi-year process, but the other half of this is that between the negative adjustment, which is an offset adjustment that I have in the blue circle, plus the overall net change from the last year is about the other $54,000. That's the net change. And levy adjustments are very common. They're every district will see those. And again, The taconite is very reactionary to the market. Health and safety, you have the new long-term facilities maintenance revenue, which is the new health and safety plus deferred maintenance. And then final pupil counts and other information are the other reasons why we see that net levy change. This is just a little bit of history of your levy certification from payable 12 to payable 18. So you can see the red numbers are actually the taconite production contributions, and I just wanted to make note so you could see the cyclical nature of how those contributions have ebbed and flowed since, and when we say payable 2012, that's actually 2011, the summer of 2011 when we started that process. So we were at 555,000 all the way up to 714,000, and then dropping again down to the 473,000. But if you look at the net levy, you can see that back on payable 2013, the levy was actually more than it is that you're proposing today for payable 2018, which will be for fiscal year 19.
That's it.
And that's it. So if you have any questions about the levy certification, I'm happy to answer any questions. I do have your certification with me tonight, so I can look up anything specific. But at this time, what we would be asking for is that you would approve the maximum, which would be the 19.93%. It will continue to adjust and change all the way until September 30th. We would be working with your superintendent. If we see any changes between now and then, the department can make corrections, the district could see corrections, pupil counts can be adjusted. And then come December, and I think I may be already on the agenda to be visiting again in December to talk about truth in taxation and then your final levy certification. So we still have opportunities to see that adjust and change from there. So if not, if there aren't any questions, then at this time we would recommend that the board would approve the maximum at this time.
Any questions? I'll make a motion that we approve it at the maximum.
Second.
Second by Sather. Any discussion?
Just a little, don't know too much about this, and basically what it's all about, so actually approving something could be, without more information on my end.
Sure, and this is just the opportunity to start the ball rolling. You will get a full detailed description of your entire levy certification in December, which will be when you certify the final.
Just for discussion, I mean, every city sets this every year this time, and they typically, I think their max is 10% or something, and they set their proposal or preliminary at the high. And the basis that once you set a number, when you go set the final, you can't be higher than that number. So everybody set it at the max, so then they can always adjust and then have the full capacity to deal with. So kind of a standard, just routine thing at the proposed level.
Correct.
Or preliminary.
And as I mentioned, with the taconite reduction, there is nothing that we can undo there, which is causing the largest share of your levy to go up. The other adjustments are actually all the way back from fiscal year 14 and up to current, using those adjustments from prior year levies. And again, mostly in your maintenance and deferred areas where you're doing projects that the timing of the levy certification, for example, this levy that we're proposing right now is for fiscal year 19, and next week you may have a project that's going to come up that we wouldn't know about, that would have to wait a levy before we could even get it on there. So those are the things that happen because the timing of the certification and the timing of the projects often don't match.
So the taconite production is estimated right now, that can go either way, that can go up or down, that's just a projected figure, correct?
Nope, the number that you're seeing right there is the final number that is on your certification based on a 3-year running average. Our hope is that then we're going to see a rebound on your next year's levy where we hope to recapture a little bit of that $81,000 reduction. But again, it's a 3-year running average. It's a quite complex calculation, and it matters what the whole region is doing, in addition to the mines that are especially attached to your district. And I think you guys knew, I think EVTAC last year, the year before, was way down. HIBTAC, which also is a part of the larger calculation of one of the pots that are attached to yours, didn't run for almost a year So all of our districts are actually seeing a slight reduction, but it all depends on which mines are attached to your district. And again, if anyone has any specific questions on the certification, if you forward them on to Superintendent Carey, he can forward them on to me, and I'd be happy to answer any questions in relation to the certification. But I will say, based on your initial levies, again, being almost identical to your prior year levy, which means you're levying basically those same components that you were in a prior year, which many are just a part of the funding process that you have to do as far as funding education. It was just the adjustments, which again weren't necessarily adjustments on this year's levy. It was adjustments from a prior year levy dropping off.
All right. Anything else? Okay. Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion
Thank you,
carries.
Kathy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 12.2, approve the job description for general maintenance position.
I will entertain a motion at this time to table this. I believe this has to be looked into further by the board to do a little bit more studying on this, and I think this is the reason that we need more time to look at this. I can't foresee a big hurry to have this voted on and approved tonight.
I mean, I'll agree with Tom. I got an email from Mr. Carey, and everybody did, in regard to this position, and it's not spelled out. I mean, there wasn't, I don't believe we've had a really big discussion on this, so approving this would be doing an injustice right now. I mean, I don't want to vote on something that I know nothing about, I know, in depth.
There's a motion by Jenny. Did you second it?
I'll second it.
Second by Addie. To table this to another meeting.
Discussion?
Okay. So I would love to hear, Mr. Carey, what your thoughts are on moving the position.
What do you mean moving the position?
Or that of approving the job description for the general maintenance position was my understanding, and not having hiring for that
There's
plumber.
a couple things. One, we spent the better part of the last 3 years looking for a plumber, and have not found anyone qualified.
No, plumber A is, what is the qualifications for plumber A?
Be a chief's license.
Okay, is it,
That's the sticking point.
And we've hired out for that?
We've been contracting out for that, and probably will continue. As such, we have, I mean, it's fairly rare for a school district to hire specific job classifications anymore. This makes it more general so that they aren't tied to one particular job. I mean, we have a lot of times during the course of the year, for instance, we have a carpenter we only have one that is swamped, and we could potentially do some other things. I mean, school contracts that have, I mean, we have very specific job classifications: plumber A, plumber B, carpenter, grounds and building and grounds, things like that. I mean, that has kind of gone by the wayside in the last 10 to 15 years. I mean, it's a lot of general maintenance now, so that people aren't stuck just being able to do one thing. They're able to be able to assign multi jobs, and that's the direction that has been recommended to us to start moving toward. The union agreed to it in negotiations this year. We mentioned it to them, and they were not opposed to it, and decided to drop their plumber scale, and here we are. It took a while, but this isn't something that just happened.
Well, we have a employee right now, Superintendent Carey, that is going to take the state exam for the Chief Engineer Grade C license within 2 months.
First class.
First class.
C.
Taken, then we don't have to have a contract anymore. He can handle the 3 boilers in Evelyn and plus the 2 boilers in Gilbert.
so why would we
Fine.
not do that? Why would we not wait till he tests it out?
What's that?
Why would we not wait until the employee tested out for his first class C.
But this position isn't about that, though. I mean, it's,
Addition to those positions.
Probably
this is we used to have a plumber A, now we're reclassified, is what I'm asking.
So that makes sense to me because, it does, and we categorize and group things like that in my regular job too, because of that, and allows flexibility for coverage. And if someone is overworked and someone is underworked, if you have separate job classes, you can't necessarily work out a job class then, and then it creates issues with that versus having the general maintenance. So that's what I was thinking is what you were looking at. I just needed a little bit more clarification. The other question is, so we have the general maintenance bus driver versus general maintenance plumber B in front of us.
So
I'm guessing you have old job descriptions.
So you said this is what was used, this replacement is what used for plumber A. So plumber A would be,
No,
I mean, that's what your email said.
what I'm saying is we aren't hiring additional people.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that is going to replace what used to be plumber A.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're gonna put a plumber A, who usually holds the license for the boiler, chief engineer license, and then you're gonna make him plumber A, and then he's just gonna have a special engineer's license? Is that how I get this? If you're gonna replace plumber A with the general maintenance bus driver, but, so you're gonna go from a chief engineer.
General maintenance plumber.
Well, you said plumber A, you're gonna replace this with this.
This with this. This is what he's saying is probably the old one. We have a
I'm
general
saying we're
maintenance
not
bus
creating
driver
a
in
new
front of
position. I
us.
mean, this isn't additional money I'm asking you to spend. It's
I mean,
a
I think we
position
should
that we've
just table
had.
this, I think we should table this so we can talk this over and figure out before we get into some contractual agreements or.
You guys are okay with this?
Like I said,
Unions agreed to it. in
Mr. Chair, this came up in negotiations, and, I mean, it was agreed upon, and, I mean, this has been ongoing for basically three years that I've been here. I was trying to figure out a way to diversify our labor pool internally. And here we are. And for the unions to support it, I don't see why it's really the board's position to step in between the administration and a collective bargaining group's agreement. I mean, it's just a job classification.
But
I mean, that's all it is at this.
I mean, we run this school.
We do not run this school, Mr. Addy. We govern this school. There's two different things
Yeah,
between
we
them.
govern the school, all right.
Okay.
I'm just saying how it's,
Do we have a person that's basically doing the same job duties as what typically the licensed person would do? I mean, is there somebody doing a lot of those duties anyways? It's just they've got to be covered under somebody else's license? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yes and no. We currently don't have anybody in that position.
in a position for, I mean,
What
license
used to
are you
be
talking
plumber A.
about? I mean,
Plumber A. We haven't had any.
Our plumber A retired and we have
Okay,
not
plumber
replaced
A
him.
is required to have what license? What is
Chief's.
Chief's license.
With the
Okay.
chief engineer grade C license, anybody can work under that. You could take your plumber B and put him into this new job description, he can work under,
But we're trying to get away from,
well, okay.
we're trying to get away from that type of classification though.
But you need that in
Really
here.
only- Okay, I checked in with Virginia too. Virginia has 2 boilers. They have 1 chief engineer, grade C license, and 2 helpers. Why do we want to limit plumber A? That's exactly what we're doing here. And then we're going to be right back into where we have to go into contracting out.
Well, that,
Yeah, because we have to
The plumber,
contract out
if we-
your,
Plumber A has that chief license, he can run all.
But we don't have a chief license.
but let's wait till December till our employee can test out.
To my knowledge, he's not going to have, we're not going to have one then either. We won't have a chief's license then.
He's going to take his chief license.
He's gonna take his state test, I do believe.
Now we're getting into personnel and suspected, I mean,
I didn't mention no names, Mike.
well, the point is, I mean, it's not necessarily.
Even at that, we're still trying to get away from
Right.
specific job descriptions.
But we still need
Right.
chief engineer on site.
On site.
You can't be,
Okay, but it's also,
That's correct,
it's
but that
also,
doesn't mean.
so we're gonna not have a chief on site? How are you gonna have an apprentice work under? Because if my memory serves me correctly.
We don't have one right now.
I know, well, you gotta
which
have
is why we
something.
contract out.
Under direct supervision, does an apprentice have to work under to get his hours to test out and start working his way up the scale? Okay,
And there's nothing saying that a current employee still can't do that.
So what are
We're moving away from plumbers and carpenters and groundskeepers and,
you know, Jeff, this
Making-
conversation could have been so much easier had we talked about this other than just an email and a piece of paper.
we did last spring.
I'm feeling like my stuff is answered. The one point that I want to make out, that it's more than just the plumber issue too, that there were other, it's about the general maintenance, and again, just what I said, it's about, we should not have people that are overworked in one area and people that are underworked in other areas, and that we can't utilize them across the board to help each other.
Right, exactly.
And, well, exactly, and that's what a general maintenance position would allow for us to do, is you can work across the board. If you do have it specific for job classes and different descriptions, you cannot necessarily do that. So, okay.
I guess my question, one last question, I know we're kind of pressed for time, but I'm just thinking about, is this to the benefit of our employees too? I mean,
It's to the benefit of the district.
okay.
I mean, indirectly, if I may, indirectly, it is a benefit to our employees for that carpenter that's being overworked and none of his brethren can help him because they're in a different classification. I mean, we have many people in this district for the past 3 years that I've been here that have been burnt out in positions because they don't necessarily have the help, that the district can't afford to pay another full-time position, but then we have underworked, as Kelly's point is that we have underworked positions, so it's a benefit for everybody, I mean, in my eyes.
Maybe underutilized, I don't want to make it sound like people are working, underutilized maybe.
No, I mean,
It's a
but
better
that's
word.
the way that
Yes.
narrow-minded classifications or narrow-viewed classifications work. They don't, I mean, we won't get into the weeds of the conversation, but I mean, it helps
I
everybody.
guess, sorry to interrupt.
No.
I guess my concern is just, the turnover and wanting our employees to also be happy and want to stay here. And I'd hate to, it seems as though they don't have stepping stones to move up the ladder, making this decision. It's kind of what I'm understanding.
I would disagree with that statement, but.
Is that true, Jeff, or not really? Am I understanding that correctly? Because if we're taking away the plumber A, is what you're saying, because we don't currently have that.
Right.
So if we take that away, it's kind of taking away a step or advancement for somebody potentially.
But we haven't been able to fill it for 3 years and won't.
You say won't.
The last guy was in there for a decade. There was no advancement, period, and nobody had any initiative to want to advance when he moved to a different position. Even when he moved to a different position, nobody went forward and stepped up.
I understand what you're saying, and I get that. But I also feel like, as far as the big picture for our district and for the best utilization for all workers involved, I feel like I can't create a job based on one employee, no matter how great that employee may be. I can't create something that's going to fit or benefit one employee. I have to look at the district.
Then we should just leave it at, we should just leave all this as is and not change the
But I don't
position.
think that benefits the district.
I think it would. I mean, you got employees doing, you say it says in here that a lot of the plumbing you do is contract out, you don't actually do much plumbing. It's hard to believe that the employees that we have don't do much plumbing. When you got tons of toilets and tons of urinals and sinks and all kinds of domestic water flowing throughout this building, it's hard to believe that you would have to that nothing breaks, that you say that we don't do any plumbing anymore, that the employees don't do any plumbing. I mean, I just find it hard to believe. You know, so I would just, I mean, this little proposal, to me personally, doesn't pass the smell test. It just, I
But,
need more
you
information
know,
on it.
Negotiations are not finalized yet, but it has been said that was approved.
Agreed.
Agreed
Tentatively agreed.
upon.
We'll say tentatively agreed, right?
Tentatively agreed upon by the union. So for me, it's a tough decision because I do want to respect the employees as well, because yes, we do work for the district, and I just, you know, with all these, like I said, the turnover, it's important to value our employees as well.
With all due respect, if I may just make one more comment on that, I mean, the employees have that collective bargaining group that look out for themselves, and they agree to that, so why should we dig any deeper into the weeds than that? I mean,
But why wasn't the board informed about this?
Both.
Well, just possible the negotiations between, you know, the negotiations of discussing this with the union.
You were.
When
But,
were we, okay.
I do believe that this has been brought up before too.
Well,
many
And
times.
they're open.
it wasn't into this depth.
So anybody
No,
can.
but
guarantee
it
you.
was brought up regarding
Yeah.
moving into a.
It would be
general.
premature without the union agreeing to it, though. I mean, that's the other side of that.
Well, what you're basically doing here is you're gonna go into, with this new job description, general maintenance bus driver, you're gonna go into a special engineer's license.
That's the minimum qualification.
It's a maintenance qualification, but there's no way that he can run those boilers.
You can't run the
But
boilers.
that, you have to start somewhere, and that's the minimum qualification.
But you
There's
can't.
nothing that says that they can't continue.
But Jeff, I beg to differ on you on that he cannot touch those boilers without direct supervision of a Class A, or a first class, second class, or a chief engineer's license.
I'm well aware,
Under direct
but what I'm telling you is we have not been able to hire somebody that has one, so.
But we have an employee that's looking at taking a test, the state test within 2 months. If we have a.
That's fine, but this is a different, he already has a position, this is a different position.
Why can't we just keep plumber A the way it is? We'll have a guy right here that can run all 5 boilers, if we have 2 campuses, take the plumber B and make him into this general maintenance bus driver thing.
That's right.
And he can assist the plumber A and do these other functions that you have here of, you got the new job description of patch plaster, install, maintain student lockers. I mean,
Mr. Chair, I mean, we need to get moving, so, I mean, do what you will with it. I mean, I'm trying to help the district out a little bit here. I have no idea why we get into these arguments over this, but whatever. I mean, just do it.
Motion is to table at this time, so we're going to take a vote on that. All in favor of tabling?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No.
So motion to table it fails. 4 to 3. So we can entertain a motion to accept this.
I'll move.
I'll second. McPherson, second by me, and then any discussion, we've already had enough.
I would just be in disbelief that this board would approve something that they haven't looked in depth to. It would just be a disservice to our employees and to our district to approve this.
No, the
For the
vote has
con-
been made, it's a done deal, so.
For the
That was to
contrary.
table it. That was to table it.
Right,
To
but the vote's
contrary,
already occurred,
The union
so
asked
we
me
need to move on.
in support of this, and I don't think
That's
it's.
where I'm going.
Right.
I'm just,
Anyways, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
no.
No.
Motion passes 4 to 3.
I'll just skip the next part, and I'll do it next time. We got a
Let's
month.
get the administrative report, get over to month.
Motion to adjourn, I'll move.